Hello everyone, welcome to my Flosstube channel. My name is Jessie Lee and I'm coming at you with video number 7. This video is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge because I had a crazy creative burst these past 2 weeks. I worked on a few newer projects and I even tried some stuff that I've never done before, and it was a great time. But I'm not sure how I'm going to talk about everything. I'm so excited to share everything with you and also tell you some of the stuff I've learned along the way, but segueing gracefully between each subject is going to be a little hard, so please bear with me. I'm just going to approach it project by project. But first, I want to thank everyone for answering my question of the week in my last video and leaving me comments telling me where you're all from. I have subscribers in Australia, Great Britain, Ireland, France, Germany, Canada, and of course all across the United States, and it just blows my mind. I am just astounded to know that all y'all across the world are watching me. One thing that I think is super cool was this common theme I found in all your comments, and it seems that the majority of you, and this includes me too, we all live near some sort of natural beauty. Everyone has some sort of landscape or critters that is close to their home that they get to see on a regular basis, and that's what is what they love about their home and where they live, and that's what brings joy to our lives. Since posting my last video, it's just been a highlight of each day for me to hop back on YouTube and see each new comment that's popped up. I am just so excited to continue getting to know you guys, and that brings me to my question of the week for this video, and that is, what is your most meaningful or sentimental cross-stitch piece that you have stitched? This question came to mind because I've been working on my Birthstone girls cross stitch, and this is the first project I've done that has true sentimental value to me. And for anyone not caught up with my videos, I'll quickly explain what my Birthstone girls project is. It is something I charted up myself based on these patterns by Soda Stitch. This is Birthstones 1. Soda Stitch patterns are so stinking cute. And this is Birthstones 2. And what I've done is Frankenstein pieces of these girls into 4 new Birthstone girls that represent my grandmother, my mother, myself, and my daughter. And this is what my chart looks like. It's pretty rough, but it works for me. This is the 4 of us all together, and we'll have our names and birthdays underneath. And bring it closer. This is my grandma, mom, me, and Sylvia. And what I'm doing is working on this gradually and stitching up each lady in their birthday month. And my mom's birthday was in April, and I got her all stitched and finished just in time for Mother's Day. And here she is. This is the Birthstone girl I made to represent my mom. I think she's so sweet looking. And these stitches down here are just some gridding I did because this is a very wide piece of fabric and I want to make sure that I'm stitching each lady exactly where she belongs in this piece. So those will go away when I am all the way finished. And I also haven't yet put in my mom's name and birthday because I haven't decided what color floss I want to do that in yet. But my mom's name is Laura Lee. We share a middle name. And her birthstone is a diamond. I do hope that looks like a diamond and not a smoky quartz. I did my best. And I gave my mom a green dress because green has been her favorite color her entire life. And I chose this hairdo with a little flower crown. I think that just fits my mom. My mom is just a very sweet and kind person with a deep love of nature and animals. And oh my goodness, the animals love my mom back so much. My mom's just like Snow White. She could pet a grizzly bear and not get hurt because she just exudes this aura of just gentleness. I love that about her. But my mom also has this very down-to-earth, just steadfast, solid side to her. She is very firm in her principles, and she works her butt off at everything she chooses to do. And the little bit of conflict that she does ever get in, you better watch out, because my mom is stubborn as heck. She is a Taurus through and through, and astrology does not always ring true or strike meaning, but for my mom, oh my goodness, does she embody her astrological sign. I am stitching this up on 25 count white opalescent Lugana. You can see the pretty sparkles there. I just thought that was so complimentary to each girl holding their beautiful shiny gemstone. And I used the charted DMC colors as a guide, but I did go and choose most of my own colors. And if I can show them all to you somehow. See if I can lay these sort of flat so they don't all tip over. But here are my colors for all of the girls. This has the girls' skin, hair, eyes, stones, and dresses all together in there, and choosing all these colors was quite fussy. It was really a feat. And I want to say a quick thank you to Wendy, who won my giveaway that I did a few videos ago, because she sent me in the mail this little stationery booklet of list paper with kitty cats on it. She sent this back to me as a thank you, which I did not expect at all. That was so sweet of you, Wendy. But I immediately put it to use, writing in all of my info that I need about my Birthstone girls. Just measurements, stitch count, and all of the DMC for everything, so I don't forget. So thanks, Wendy. This immediately came in handy. And like I said, it took me quite a while to pick out colors. First, I had to make a decision about what color dresses I thought would look best for each girl to wear, so they would look nice together, standing together as a group, and also what would look complementary to everyone's birthstones. That was sort of a hard decision in the beginning, and then I had to go through my full set of floss and actually find those colors, and it was just a lot. And that's what I did on top of creating my own chart and seeing my mom finally stitched up here, you know, and right on time for Mother's Day, which I think is special. It makes me feel really gratified in putting in this sort of effort. And I am really excited to continue with this piece. All the subsequent girls should be a lot easier since I have everything established now. And next I will be doing my daughter Sylvia. Her birthday's in June. Moving along now, because I was really productive this week. In addition to finishing my mom's Birthstone girl, I also got an FFO. And here it is. Ta-da! I finished up my farm cross stitch and made it into a magnet for my fridge. This is the back. I covered up the back with a big piece of magnetic sheeting. I bought this at Michael's, and it's super easy to cut up into whatever size and shape you need it to be. And this yellow trim I had to turn to Amazon to get. I just couldn't find much yellow trim to choose from at any of the craft stores or the fabric store near me. So this trim, if you couldn't see it very clearly, is cute elastic ruffle trim in yellow gingham, which matches my yellow kitchen just perfectly. This pattern came from a vintage issue of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine. I think it was from the year 1990, so very old pattern. I changed most of the colors in it to match my kitchen. The bands in here I chose to do in yellow and blue. I'm pretty sure they were red and blue in the original pattern. And I also chose to make a little red hen and a classic black and white patchy Holstein cow. I needed to stitch a cow to join Sarah's Stitches Sal. She is hosting a Sal on Instagram, and the hashtag for it is stitching till the cows come home. And she has invited everyone to stitch the pattern of a cow of their choice. And this was my cow. Moo. I've already posted a picture of this over on my Instagram, and Janny the Evergreen Stitcher left me a comment asking how I made it. So I thought I'd give a quick rundown here in this video. This magnet is only the second FFO I've made using sticky board and quilt batting. The first was my chocolate heart cross stitch, and I had a very different experience using sticky board between these two pieces, and I learned a lot, and I thought by sharing my experience, I could maybe help out another beginner stitcher who maybe hasn't tried to finish a piece like this before. Okay, so to make my magnet, I first cut out a circle from a piece of sticky board. And to anyone not familiar, sticky board is a type of foam board that has an adhesive all over one side, and it's like a really strong sticker. And that adhesive side is covered over with a protective sheet, so you're able to cut up and work with the board just fine until you're ready to stick things onto it. So from some sticky board, I cut out a circle, the exact diameter I wanted my magnet to be. And then I cut out the same size circle from a piece of quilt batting. And then I glued that quilt batting down to the non-sticky side of the sticky board circle. And then I took my cross stitch and I placed it over the quilt batting and I positioned it over the circle as centered and accurate and perfectly as I could, got it all straightened out, and then I secured it all around the very edge with some sewing pins. The sticky board is just foam board, so it's very easy and non-damaging to stick the sewing pins straight through into the board all along the edge. And once I had this very secure on the circle, just how I wanted it to be, I trimmed the extra fabric off and I left about a 3/4 allowance of fabric that I was going to fold over to the back side. So then I tore off the protective sheet from the sticky board and began folding down and sticking that fabric allowance to the back. Now, here's where my experience making my magnet differed from my experience making my chocolate heart box. I had a really easy time using sticky board with this box, and it was hugely helpful because the fabric this is made from is a more delicate Lugana. It has a thinner, more flexible texture, and it adhered to the sticky board with no problem at all. It just stuck on there like glue and was super simple. However, my magnet cross stitch was done on 18 count Aida. It's heavier and stiffer, and when I folded it over to the back, it just wanted to lift. It did not stick onto the sticky board at all. So what I ended up doing was hand sewing a lacing and tightening it up to secure the backside fabric allowance on this piece. So the lacing looks like this. Just a basting stitch all the way around the allowance and then tightened up to make it secure. So the sticky board turned out to not be so helpful with this piece, and I could have gotten away just using regular foam board to make this finish. So to any beginners out there, if you want to make a cute puffy finish like this with quilt batting and backing board, if you're using a heavier fabric like Aida, I would suggest just going with regular foam board as your base because sticky board probably won't be helpful. If you're finishing something with a thinner fabric like this Lugana, then a sticky board would be awesome and super simple and helpful. Anyway, once I got the fabric allowance all secured on the back and the circle was all nice and tight and ready to go, I removed the pins. Everything was nice and secure. And then I was able to decorate it the rest of the way. I took my trim and hot glued it to the back. And then I covered up the back side with the circle that I cut out of my magnetic sheeting. The magnetic sheeting I used does have a sticky adhesive on one side to secure it, but it's not the strongest, so I ended up hot gluing that to the back too. And having this big blank back that's completely magnet makes it look really nice and neat. And yeah, that is how I made my farm magnet, and I'm really happy with it. My kitty Calypso has come in the room and she's laying on the floor here right next to me, purring her loudest. So if you hear purring, that's coming from her. You haven't met Calypso in any of my videos yet because she doesn't come into this room all that often. And I don't want to lift her up to the camera for you to see her because she is a 14-year-old kitty and lifting her up is really uncomfortable for her now. So maybe she will jump back here on the bed at some point and you'll get to see her. She is a really beautiful tortoiseshell kitty. Anyway, my latest creative project was a brand new experience for me, and I learned so much from it, and it was the most fun. And that was hand dyeing my own cross stitch fabric. I was never really interested in dyeing my own fabric because it just seemed intimidating to me. But I have 3 smaller, more simple cross stitch patterns that I'm going to be stitching up here soon. And dyeing 3 smaller pieces of fabric to go with them seemed like a good idea. So I went and watched a few tutorial videos on Flosstube here, and the very best one I found was by Stitching with Brenda. Her tutorial to me was the best. It was the most clear and precise and detailed and helpful, and it gave me the most knowledge so I could go into my first dye project feeling really confident that I would make something that I was proud of. So I will be sure to link her video down in the show notes for you. So I got some RIT dye and some plain white Zweigart even weave and got everything set up in my kitchen and went to town dyeing and had a blast. And I did not at all expect dyeing fabric to really be that fun. I'm the type of person who doesn't always enjoy surprises, and doing a big setup and then cleanup afterwards for a project where the final product was something that I didn't have absolute control over what it would look like just didn't seem that fun to me. But it turns out that dyeing fabric is super fun. I really enjoyed mixing the dye and then dribbling it over the fabric, and I was super happy with how 2 out of the 3 pieces I made turned out, and I will show them to you. The first one I did is this gray blue. I used the spoon over method on all 3 of these pieces so I would get more modeling, and the sides each look a bit different from each other. Here's the other side. This blue will work perfectly for the pattern I have planned for it. Very, very happy with that one. There is a similar modeled blue even weave that's already dyed that's sold at Hobby Lobby, and I almost just bought that because I thought it'd be easier, but I decided to give dyeing a try, and I'm so glad I did because I feel like this is much prettier and more special than the stuff at the store, so that was worth the effort. And then the other one I did was this yellow. This fabric's still a bit wrinkly. I need to give it another iron, but there's one side of my yellow and the other. And that will also work perfectly for the pattern that I have planned for it. And I wanted, at first, my original plan was to dye the 3rd piece the same way in yellow. And then I got the idea to add a little splash of green after I did the yellow. And it didn't turn out the way I planned. And here's what it looks like. It's okay. Here's one side. This other side looks way different and I think is a bit prettier, but I accidentally got a little dribble of straight up blue on there and it doesn't look so great. And well, it's not awful, but it's not going to work for the pattern that I had planned for it. But one thing I do think it could work kind of cool for is if I found a pattern of like the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland smoking his hookah, because doesn't that just look like smoke swirling around? I'm glad I had this experience making this fabric and having it not turn out as I pictured it in my head, because I learned the most from it. I hadn't planned on doing any green dye in the first place, and to make the green, I mixed the yellow and blue dye that I had bought, and I did test out the green color that I mixed together on a paper towel before I applied it to the fabric, and it looked fine on the paper towel, but it just turned really murky and not right on the actual fabric. So I think it would probably be a better idea and I would get a more accurate color if I just buy the green RIT dye next time. So from now on, I'm not going to mix secondary colors from primary colors. Instead, I will just go ahead and buy any secondary colors already made by RIT in hopes that they will show up a bit truer on the fabric. And another thing I learned was if you're going to dye a base color and then add some accent color. You should probably reposition your fabric after the base color because my green exactly follows the wrinkles in the fabric that I had put in when I dyed the yellow. I think it would have been prettier if I had done the yellow dye, crunched up my fabric in a different way, and then done the green dye. It would have given this a bit more variety. So this was a good experiment. It didn't turn out how I wanted, but I learned so much from it, so I can do better next time. So I'll be using these two fabrics for 3 teacher gifts I will be stitching up this month. Right now, everyone is participating in Stitch Mania in their own way, and I guess for me, it's going to be Gift Mania. The first piece on this blue, I will be stitching for my daughter Sylvia's kindergarten teacher named Mrs. Fox, and this is the pattern I will be using. This is Fall Fox by Eileen Gurak, and here's what it looks like. And I will not be stitching the border. I'm just going to stitch up the fox, the owl, and the pretty trees. And I think that will look really nice on the blue. And then on the yellow, I think I can squeak out 2 of this fan pattern. This I will be stitching for my son Glenn's kindergarten teacher, Mr. Bruce, and the teacher assistant, Miss Christine. Both my kids are in kindergarten, but they are not twins, although they get mistaken for twins quite often. But Glenn is the big brother. He is 7 years old and in kindergarten this year because he has moderate autism. So his father and I made the decision that it would be best to put him in school a year late. And we are so happy we decided that because he's been absolutely thriving in kindergarten this year. He is in a special ed class with Mr. Bruce and Miss Christine, and it has been working out great. He does wonderfully. He loves going to school, and a benefit of him being in kindergarten the same year as his little sister is that they see each other every day at recess. Sylvia is also autistic, but it's a bit more mild for her, so she's in a regular kindergarten class and gets pulled out every so often to work with specialists on her IEP goals, and she's also thriving in school. She is an absolute extrovert, just a complete social butterfly. She has made so many friends. In fact, I kind of think she might be a bit popular in school, which blows my mind because both of her parents are complete nerds and were never popular. But yeah, Sylvia's super charismatic, and she and Glenn love seeing each other at recess every day. They're both younger kids, so they still think it's cool to hang out with each other as siblings. And I guess every day they find each other at recess and give each other a hug and get down to playing together. And Sylvia has also done a tremendous job facilitating Glenn interacting with his neurotypical peers. It seems that he has been totally accepted by all of the other kindergartners, and they all play together, and it's just so precious to me, and it's wonderful to hear about. Glenn's teachers know Sylvie, and Sylvie's teacher knows Glenn, and I hear from the 3 of them about how they all interact with each other and just the cute things they do together during recess time, and it just fills my heart with so much joy, and it's such a relief because having 2 kids who are on the spectrum going to school is a bit nerve-wracking. So I'm just so grateful that it's been working out so well. I'm on a tangent. Anyway, there is a meaning behind this fan pattern for Glenn's teachers. And I think I forgot to tell you where I got this from. It is from dailycrossstitch.com. I downloaded the PDF for $1. It's super cute, and I will be splitting the yellow fabric I dyed in half and then stitching this in a different color for each of his teachers so they have their own special version. And I will make it extra fancy by stitching the cage part of the fan in silver metallic thread. I think that'll be nice. But anyway, the meaning behind the fan is that it's one of Glenn's absolute obsessions. One of Glenn's autistic quirks is that he loves anything that spins. He is absolutely fascinated by spinning objects. Fans, pinwheels, windmills, wheels on vehicles, anything that spins, he adores. And His teachers are quite aware of that by now, and I thought it would be nice to stitch the fan and then stitch in some words as a little pun, something along the lines of, "I'm a fan of what an incredible teacher you are," or something like that. I would love for anybody who has an idea to comment suggestions for me down below of what would be a cute, punny little saying having to do with a fan for the teachers. So yeah, that's the meaning behind the fan that I'll be stitching for Mr. Bruce and Miss Christine. And the last stitchy bit I have to share today is something you've seen in every single one of my videos. It's my temperature garden. This is a pattern by Sara the Stitchin Mommy, and I'm stitching it in my own color conversion. And you see this in all of my videos because I just keep on keeping on with this piece. Can you believe that we are a third of the way through the year already? It blows my mind. I got April done and got through these first few days of May. And as you can see right here on May 1st, May Day, I got to stitch this yellow petal because we had the hottest day of the year so far here. And it turned out to be a glorious day. My kids and I had sort of a surprise day at the lake that day. We all went for a splash, believe it or not. It was 85 degrees where we live, and that's pretty unusual for this time of year. And we went out and made the most of it. I took the kids to the park. Sylvia asked to go to a park that we don't go to very often. And the first one that came to mind was the playground next to the lake, Lake Josephine, which is by the kids' school. And we went to the playground and they were playing and having so much fun, but the three of us were all eyeing the beach because there were a ton of people there splashing in the water or laying out in the sun and having a good old time. So after being at the playground for about 5 minutes, I asked the kids if they would like to splash too. And of course they did. So we quick rushed back home and put some sunscreen and swimsuits on and went back to Lake Josephine and played at the beach. We did get in the water, all three of us, and the water was really freezing cold because it's still only springtime. The temperature of the water did not match the temperature of the air whatsoever, but it felt really refreshing and just nice to go into a really freezing cold lake, believe it or not. And another thing that was nice about it is that my kids were not enticed to full-on swim, so I didn't feel like I had to keep as close of an eye on them. I could kind of stand waiting in the water, enjoying it myself a bit more, and just have my mind at ease. And the kids had an absolute blast, and what was great about that day is you could tell everybody else who was there were also surprised by the weather and just enjoying the moment and having sort of an impromptu time at the lake. And you can tell it was impromptu for quite a few people because there are just a bunch of ladies and gentlemen basking in the sun or wading around in the water wearing only their underwear. And in no way, shape, or form did it seem offensive or inappropriate to have people walking around like that. Instead, it really felt just joyous and exuberant to have people improvising to embrace that glorious day that nature had surprised us all with. And no police were called. I am so grateful to have had that beach day with my kids. It lifted all of our spirits. Feeling the freezing cold water and the blazing hot sun on that day just energized me and made me feel happy in a way that I haven't felt this entire year so far. It was really lovely. Well, that is all I have to share with you today. I feel like I was sort of disorganized in this one, so thank you for bearing with me. And please, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a comment telling me about your most meaningful or sentimental cross-stitch piece. I am so eager to hear more from all of you. And before I go, I would like to share the motto of my grandma, who inspired me both in stitching and in life. God loves you and I love you. Bye-bye. Happy stitching.